Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Box of Roses podcast. I'm Xander Rose, and with me, as always, is my young mate, Alex Box. Boxy, how are you, bud?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Very good, mate. Very good. I'm happy. We're doing a lot of shows here now for the Box of Roses podcast, so everything's going great. But, mate, we had AEW Dynamite Grand Slam midweek. It was a great show. We had MJF getting the victory over Brian Pillman Jr. We had Malachi Black defeating Cody Rhodes. Dr. Britt Baker retained her AEW championship against Ruby Soho. We also had a ripper promo by our mate there, CM Punk. Gee, the guy could talk, eh?
Oh, wow.
It was so good. It was so good. But also, one of my favorites of all time, the 62-year-old Stinger and Darby Allin defeated, and I was very surprised. I know you called it.
No, I definitely called it.
You did call it, I've got to be honest, but defeated FTR. It was so good to see Sting really involved in this match. You know, he wasn't just there as a bystander. He was right into it, eh?
Yeah, no, I think that's where they're going to go with Sting for a while. I think they're just going to have him and Darby team up. I don't think they'll give Sting a singles run. If anything, they'll just have him in the background while Darby does his thing, which I like. You know, Sting sort of just letting Darby do his thing.
Yeah, he just, you know, he's doing the right things, isn't he? Like, he's not overplaying his hand there, Sting, but he's still doing enough. He's not just there for just a clothesline or something like that. He's there. He's doing some moves off the top rope, cross bodies.
Yeah.
His finishes, submissions, mate. He's doing it all, and it's just so good to see. I'm so happy that the way he's finishing his career there at AEW. It just is fitting in so well there, especially with Darby and that. So, no, it's good. But we also had Rampage. What are the matches at Rampage?
Yeah, so we had Rampage Grand Slam, which was a 2-hour special. It was taped after Dynamite. To open the show, we had CM Punk defeat Powerhouse Hobbs. We had the Super Click defeat Jurassic Express and Christian. We had the Men of the Year, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. They defeated Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. The Lucha Bros and Santana and Ortiz defeated the HFO, Hardy Family Office. Penelope Ford defeated Anna Jay. See, I don't really know what's going on here with Anna Jay and Ty Conti. They've got this whole Dark Order angle happening. And I think what's going to happen, hopefully this is just what's being teased by the internet wrestling community. Next week's AEW Dynamite is in Rochester, New York, which is the hometown of the late Brody Lee. And I think we could be seeing the debut of Bray Wyatt as the new leader of the Dark Order.
Wow, that would be something ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It's being teased that the Dark Order is going to split up, but I think bringing Bray in as a new leader to bring everyone back together would just be the perfect way to go about it.
Well, it does make sense, doesn't it, really? I mean, who else? Who else is going to fix the Dark Order? Bray Wyatt was slot in there like clockwork. So we'll actually find out. We'll see what's going to happen there, eh?
Yeah. And in the main event of Rampage, we had Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston defeat Suzuki Gun, Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer in a lights-out match. That match wasn't very technical storytelling based. That was just a good old-fashioned brawl, and I loved it.
The old garbage bin over Lance Archer and Eddie just smashing him with the kendo over it. That was pretty funny. It was pretty funny.
We also saw an appearance from Homicide, pro wrestling legend Homicide. He really stood up for TNA when they were, rising up. Him and Hernandez as the original LAX. But yeah.
But I got to say though, I mean, I didn't. It wasn't much of a pop, eh? Like.
Yeah, no. Considering it was his hometown as well, you would expect, a bit of a bigger pop for Homicide.
But look, I think Okay, obviously, as someone who's just watching the show, we saw Dynamite midweek and then Rampage. But the people that were there, that was a
Yeah,
4 hour show. I mean, that wasn't like that's a massive, massive show. Like 2 hours of pro wrestling's a lot, and it's a lot when you've got the fans invested in the first match, which was an absolute
yeah,
barn burner, and then you're
yeah,
trying to, exactly, you're trying to get the fans to sort of be emotionally invested in other things. When after you've just had the first match was an absolute, just it took it right out of you. You wanted to turn it off after that match on Dynamite because it was just you were just so
exactly.
like. But I
I
mean,
think opening with that match was while I understand why they did it. I think you mentioned that it was because they only had one ad break during that time slot. Um, but opening with that match was not the right decision in terms of like getting the crowd ready for the show. I think that's a match you want right at the end, and that's like the bring it home. Let's bring it home with this absolute banger of a match. Um,
definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I was so emotionally invested in this match, which was Kenny and Bryan Danielson. It was really hard to get into the other matches. I mean, like you said, like I just couldn't believe that this was the first match of the night. I couldn't
yeah,
believe it. I'm going, look, I understand, yeah, fair enough. Okay, one commercial break and all that, but how can you follow it? You know?
yeah.
But look,
There's no way you can follow that.
what a match it was, and tell me, what did you think about it? And just let me have it, mate. Go.
Look, while I love WWE and everything that they're doing, and I'm always going to be a huge WWE fan, there's no way that they can compete with that. When you have guys like Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, CM Punk, Kenny Omega, there's no way, there's nothing you can bring the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels out of retirement, and you cannot compete with those guys and what they're doing at the moment. When you have a match just when you see Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega on paper, you're looking at one of the greatest matches of all time, and then you watch the match and it delivers. Like it exceeded every single expectation that it had. It was hard hitting, it was technical, but it told a story. Um, and I loved seeing the American Dragon back. It wasn't Mr. Yes, 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 Daniel Bryan. It was the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. And it wasn't this, new Kenny Omega that he's doing with the Elite. It was the best bout machine that you saw in New Japan. It was the cleaner Kenny Omega. And it was the best that those guys could bring. And when they had that match, it was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of matches.
You know, you know me. I'm a lot older than you, and for me, the wrestling that I used to watch that got me to love professional wrestling was in 96, 97. Back in the early not early WCW, but the WCW versus the WWF sort of Monday Night Wars and stuff like that. Now, I loved pro wrestling, albeit I was much younger back then too, but I loved pro wrestling because of the stories, at the NWO, or if it was WWF, it was the DX, and you had Bret Hart there with the Hart Foundation, and it was just, Sting coming from the ceiling. There was all these good things happening, and I loved it. But even though the wrestlers were great characters, you had matches like, for example, say Goldberg versus Kevin Nash. And you used to go, you know what? I can't wait to watch that match because there was a storyline going with it, and it was the thing back then. Now, the quality of the wrestlers is ridiculous. Like Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson have it all in their locker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can tell a story better than probably anybody. Their skills in the ring, technical, flying. The crowd, the other thing is the crowd is just electric. It is,
Oh,
for me, the best time, in my opinion, the best time to be a professional wrestling fan.
100%. I've been saying this since really before Punk came back. It was that little week, I think it was WrestleMania week, where every single day of the week there was a wrestling show. And it was like, wow, like what a time to be a wrestling fan. You're getting all these different companies putting out this awesome product, and then Punk came back, and it's like, wow, you've got CM Punk in wrestling again. Like, holy crap! You had Christian Cage come back. You had Paul White make an appearance, and then you had everything the Elite was doing, and now Bryan Danielson's in that picture as well. And it's like AEW is really just like it's like every pro wrestling fan got together and said, "This is what we want." AEW is giving it to it. And
exactly, yeah, yep.
Like you said, like back, in the 90s and the early 2000s, even it was more about the characters and the storylines, and these larger than life characters. Whereas now it's more about just the wrestling, which I love. I love, I love. Don't get me wrong, storylines are great and everything they do. I think WWE go a bit over the top with their storylines. I think, like the coming back from the dead, and they did a thing with Miro and Lana and Bobby Lashley where Lana cheated on Miro, who was Rusev at the time, and like just stupid storylines like that. Whereas AEW storylines, they kind of make sense. Like this Chris Jericho MJF thing, that was a great storyline. I think it went a little bit too long, but it was a great storyline. But it all comes down to what they do in the ring. And I think AEW do that better than anyone else.
Couldn't agree with you more there, brother. But so this match, it had everything. It obviously started a little bit slower, and you know me, I love a slow match at the start. Just work it. Some chops going on. What was going on, bud? Tell me.
Honestly, like the crowd was electric before they even locked up. The ref rang the bell, and it was just this roar from the crowd because they realized we're seeing Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. And it was real technical at the start, both guys showing their technical ability. And then the striking came into play with the chops and the kicks. And it's just, holy crap, like you can tell that hurts. But I think what I liked most about this match was it kept the crowd on the edge of their seat the whole time. There was, a whole heap of false finishes, a whole heap of, oh my God, Kenny's going to win. Oh my God, Bryan's going to win. Who's going to win? I think the fact that it wasn't for the belt, well, that convinced me that Bryan was going to win. I thought, Bryan's got this. It's not for the belt. They're going to give him the win. And it made sense that it wasn't for the belt as well because it's Bryan's first match. He shouldn't get a title shot straight away. That sort of, goes with their record system that they've got going. But yeah, no, Bryan and Kenny was by far one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. And yeah, it was fantastic.
Oh, I loved when they went outside there and then had the LCD ramp, and Kenny hits him with the dragon release suplex.
Oh, those were painful,
mate. And I was like,
that hurt me to watch.
Dude, I was like, no, he's not. He's not going to do it. He's going to block it for sure. And bang, I'm like, you're kidding. And then he hits him with a V trigger. He does a massive run up.
I know, he ran from the top of the stage.
Oh, man. Gee, he can work, mate. Kenny Omega. Look, Bryan Danielson is phenomenal. But, mate, Kenny Omega is got to be – he's just etched himself. I mean, it wasn't just this match. He's always been fantastic. He's always been great, and he's always going to be one of the best of all time. But this match now, knowing that, Bryan Danielson came from WWE, arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, the last, say, 10, 15 years in WWE. And then just really, like, putting on a show together. It's like, mate, this is, like, top-tier wrestling, professional wrestling. And we should all be just thanking the Lord that we've got these two guys in the ring and doing their thing. And it was a thing of beauty. And I mean, for me, it was like a brilliant part one to, I dare say, maybe like a series of matches. You know what I mean?
100%.
And they even got a 5-star from the Wrestling Observer. Is that? I mean, rightly so. But old Meltzer.
Yeah, Dave Meltzer doesn't give 5 stars very often. So when he does, you know it's a good match.
Yeah, well, mate, the crowd. We talk about the crowd in Chicago, how it's like off the charts, like it's deafening. Yeah. But like the New York crowd there, they were going nuts I mean, the story they told, we keep on saying it, but the story they told was brilliant. And one thing was that I think that gave them that 5-star match. Obviously, these two guys can work, but the
Yeah.
pace of the match,
Yeah.
the pace of the match, that's how you do a match, because it was just fantastic. They just got the way they got the crowd involved was just spectacular. See, for me, I really want to see these two guys like in a 60-minute like Iron Man match. It needs to
Yeah.
be done, or a series of another two matches. I don't know. I don't want it. I didn't want it to end. You
Yeah.
know.
It's one of those matches that when the crowd chants "fight forever," you actually want them to fight forever.
Like it was so good. And like, tell us about the ending of the match, the way it finished. I mean, I was very happy with it. I thought it finished well, but what did you think about it?
I like the finish. I didn't like what happened after the match, but I definitely like the finish. I like that neither of them won the match. It went to a time limit draw, which I think we've only ever seen one or two of before. I'm not sure. But it went to a time limit draw. And I think that's perfect because it sets up for future matches. It sets up
Yeah.
for longer matches because, wow, they couldn't beat each other in 30 minutes. How long did they have to go? I think this is all going to set up to Bryan winning the title. I think Bryan came in and everyone was sort of expecting him to do something similar to Punk, where he was going to go work with all these young guys and have some cool matches. But I think Bryan's going straight into the title picture, and I love it. I hope he wins the belt. I hope he's the one that beats Kenny Omega for the world title.
Can I say something here? I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think he's going to go for the belt. Not yet. He's definitely going for the belt, but not yet. I don't think so. I think Kenny's going to play. Kenny's going to play the old, like, not giving you another shot, which that's what he's saying now. But I don't think so. I think you'll see that was just like a beautiful little, welcome to AEW sort of match. And then they might go and start doing other things for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then definitely will come back. That's what I think. I know what you might think and say, well, why would he have that match then and then just like go away? And then I get that too. But I just think that now to go for as great as he is, and that being Bryan Danielson, as great as he is, I don't know if it's a good idea to just put the title on him straight away. You're just going to say, and that's the only thing that I think they've given us that first match. Just maybe, now you can say, no, you've had your match, you couldn't beat me sort of thing. Now you have to wait for a little bit. And it sort of gives it that, okay, fair enough. And he'll have a couple of matches. They might have a couple of matches each. And then boom, it'll set up that, you know what I mean? That pay-per-view match where it's like going to be, please give us more. So that's what I think anyway. But
I think this will play out, this whole storyline, Kenny and Bryan. I think this will play out till Full Gear, which I think is in November, I believe. And I think that's where Bryan will win the belt, but I think he won't hold it for very long. I think maybe Kenny wins it back off him, and that'll be the end of their thing. I think, if Kenny wins the belt back, then Bryan can go do his own thing. He can have some awesome matches with Punk and Darby and Jungle Boy and all these guys. And then I think it's Hangman Adam Page's time. But that's another story for later.
Well, yeah, he's had a bit of a holiday.
I think he's on paternal leave.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. I think he's just had a kid, so he's looking after his kid for a while. But I'm telling you, when he comes back, see, the thing with Adam Page is because before Punk and Bryan and everyone got here, the focus was on Adam Page, and everyone wanted him to dethrone Kenny. I think now that Bryan and Punk and Adam Cole and all these guys are here, he's sort of out of the picture, which is sad because I think he definitely deserves his shot. But I think
that's good.
Hangman Page deserves his title shot, and I think he deserves a long, lengthy reign.
Well, I think so as well, and I think he will get that shot. And when he gets back, he'll be right back in the title picture. But, Bud, that's going to do us for today. Make sure you follow the Facebook page. And now we have Instagram as well, guys. So make sure you like the Instagram page and follow us, and our YouTube page as well. Subscribe to our YouTube page. It's the Box of Roses podcast. Xander Rose, Alex Box signing off. Catch you next time.
See you later.